Fraley's one I do know a little bit about. So there's, Brendan, there's probably in any given one time, there's probably about 5 or 6 offensive line coaches throughout the league that are held in really high regard, maybe looked at as sort of separators from other offensive line coaches. Hank seems to have a little bit of that reputation starting to build for him. He's not to the place necessarily of a Howard Mudd or a Scarmecchia, or maybe, he's not getting that, but his reputation has really risen high. Talking to EJ Snyder a couple weeks ago from Bootleg Football, he's speaking about wanting to have Ben Johnson brought in, and he specifically mentioned the fact that he'd love if he could bring Hank Fraley with him because he had such high regard for him as an offensive line coach. There's no doubting what he's done from a development standpoint and getting that offensive line to work in uniformity. He's been able to have backups come in there over the past couple of years, and that Lions team doesn't miss a real beat as far as now their performance goes back. Because you could say, well, they've put so much investment in their line as far as first-round picks and money goes. But he's also found guys, even Mahogany, who's gone in there and played for them this year, at the end of the year has been a really good player for them as a developmental guy they drafted last year. So Fraley would be very interesting, though, of course, doesn't have any OC background. So, you're definitely on that one in a little bit of that place that I don't really like as much, Brendan, here, which is trying to kind of guess and hope a guy's going to be able to call plays versus having guys who's actually call plays. But sure would be nice to get Hank in here as an offensive line coach if you could just do that alone, if you could throw him a lot of money or something. Thomas Brown, not as much to go on from him there. He was the offensive coordinator for the Panthers in 2023. Didn't do necessarily a particularly good job in 2023 as an offensive coordinator. So he's bounced around in a couple different places. There's not a lot to go off of with him as a coach. As far as for me, Caden, I really want, and I think Brendan might be a little more open to this, but I'm more leaning heavily into the give me the track record guy. Give me the guy that's had success in this league and doing it, that we don't have to go through the growing pains on here, that Mike Macdonald doesn't have to keep watching him to make sure he's doing his P's and Q's. And that wouldn't be either necessarily of these two guys in that respect, but this may be the way we go.
Yeah. Thomas Brown, it is worth noting, although this is a small sample size, when he took over for Waldron for those first 3 games, the offense improved pretty significantly. And then when Eberflus got fired and Brown got bumped up to head coach, the offense regressed. So those 3 games, you did see something a little bit better. So maybe there's something there. They had 3 close losses in that run. I think it was Vikings, Packers, and Lions, if I recall correctly. So little something there. And then he's just completely in over his head as head coach, which should surprise nobody.
Well, and that team checked out too. I mean, that's that we heard, is that team was checking out and the players were playing for themselves once LaFleur was out.
We're going to get back to the donations, but you want to break a little bit of news on stream here?
Yeah, let's do it.
The Seahawks have requested to interview Klink Kubiak for the offensive coordinator position. So we have a third interview on the board here.
There's my guy, man. That's my I've got a couple different guys on this, but that's one of my guys, is Klink Kubiak. He took over the Saints. He was the Saints offensive coordinator last year, and you look at what he did with Derek Carr, where Derek Carr was really, through a lot of the year before the injury especially, was kind of on pace for maybe having one of the better years of his career. And he was doing it with a lot of kind of smoke and mirrors there with New Orleans, because you had Kamara, so he's working a lot of Kamara. Then you had Olave. Shaheed is kind of their speedster there.
Shaheed, I think.
Shaheed or something.
The guy with the really fast 40 time.
Yeah, and he's kind of a big play guy. But absent around that skill position, guys, you didn't have a lot else there to work with on that. And so again, back to manufacturing, kind of smoke and mirrors to make it happen. And yet the offense was performing really well. The other thing that he overcame, that this is the important part on, is that Saints offensive line run blocked really well. I mean, they were creating holes like nobody's business. Penning has developed into a monster as a run blocker, but my God, that man is still kind of a revolving door as a pass protector there. And so he had bad pass protection, yet still able to make that offense roll with a Derek Carr at quarterback, with the smoke and mirrors as far as the skill position players around him. I think that was a very impressive job that he pulled off there with New Orleans this past year. And there's some echoes to our situation here that could well accommodate him. On top of the fact that, he's got a track record, the pedigree with the father, who's won a Super Bowl, I think, with Denver as a coach there when Manning. I think that he was the guy there at that time. So
yeah, that sounds right.
So, he's I think even I think Niners are hiring his brother or something. Yeah, I would love this hire. That would be a great fit here for us. I think that guy kind of checks the boxes of what I'm looking for.
Yeah, that's got to be one of the top guys, I think, especially with the nepotism of the NFL right now. that's actually warranted nepotism, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's not a situation where he doesn't deserve it. He's done stuff.
He's done something. It's that Saints team has got some talent offensively, but he had them performing well above where I think their talent was at, and that's isn't that really the greatest indicator of an OC? Is you take whatever talent you have and then elevate it up. Not
Hmm.
not necessarily dominating, but just can you elevate up that cast? And if we put the right talent together, you'll elevate it a little bit more, and that's what we want from the OC. On top of brings the balance. It's going to use live backs out of the backfield, and it's not all just 7-step drop city and throws. So yeah, he'd be really good.
What if he brings his dad along as an advisor in like the
I love it,
Northern
man.
role? Yeah.
I love it, man. It can't hurt. Kyle Shanahan still got his dad in his ear. Like
Hmm.
just because Mike Shanahan ain't in a booth with Kyle, every week those guys are probably on the phone going over stuff, and that it helps having that kind of bastion to lean upon. Yeah.
Hmm.